If you don't understand this, let's see if Ava can explain it.
Okay. So,
Turn around and listen though.
what Josie helped me with was we put 100 on the top and then 600 on the bottom.
Okay, but even though that's a great place to start, you should always label your chart. So this is your percent, right? Which is very hard for me to do. And this is total, so write total down there. Label your charts. So 100% of 600 is 600.
Yeah. So, and then, so you want to get down to 5 because you're trying to go 5%. So, divide by 10, which is 10 and 60. So, there you go. And then, so you're trying to get to 5. So, you divide by 2. So, that's 30, and that's 5. So, your percent.
So when you do your work, good job, Ava, you should write out also your answer. 5% of 600 is 30. Because sometimes when you use a table, you get all these numbers and you don't even know what your answer is. So make sure you can write your answer out.
You get the 100 on the top of the percent.
Ava?
You get the 100 on the top of the percent.
Oh, because 100 is 6. Like, what's 100 is like 6 is 10, or whatever. Whatever that means.
Well, because every time you start a problem like this, if you're trying to do percents in your head, you're always going to start with, what's 100%? What was my bill? How much do I have to pay? So that's always the starting value. Start with 100%. Now, Augie, maybe you turn your chair so you can watch and not move maybe that way so you're not in his way. Just move up closer. Better?
Yeah. So for everyone.
So every single one?
On the top you start with 100.
Percent in total. Well, in this case, if you're trying to find a certain percent of something, yeah, you always want to figure out what you started with. So you're always going to start with 100% if you're trying to take a percent of a certain number. Alex.
For the first one, all I did is I thought 5% of 300 was 30, so I just added another 30 to get 6.
Yeah, right. So you want to try to find a way that you can always get there correctly. Ethan?
I did something a lot different.
What'd you do? You could. There's lots of ways to do this.
I did, number 1, I did 5 over 6. Wait, I want to do number 2. Can I do number 2?
Well, tell me what you did for number 1.
I did 5 over 100. So I did 5 over 100, and then I did 1 box over 600 over 1, and then I got 3,000 over 100, and then I reduced down to 30.
Okay. It's not incorrect, but I want you to focus on keeping it simple with the ratio table. So let's try to keep it simple. You want to do it? The next one?
Different.
What did you do?
So I did 5 over 100 in the first box, and 600 as a denominator in the second box. So I did 100 divided by 600, which is 6, times 5, which is 30.
Okay, also not incorrect, but what Ava did was quick, clean, and easy, and she can do it in her head if she gets good at it. So let's try to stick with really clean, using the ratio tables. One of the goals for 6th grade is to learn how to use a ratio table. And this is a great application. Olivia. Sure. Come on up and do the second one. And then Savannah, do you have a question? You want to do one? No, I want to see Olivia do it.
Josie read for me because I'm not good at writing on this one.
Josie can write for you. Just let her talk, put your hands down and listen for a minute.
So So on number 2, I did percent and then total, and then I got 100 up here, and 120 down here, and then I timed, and then I divided it by 10.
So same idea, she's getting down to 10%.
So and then right here I got 10, and then down here I got 12.
Because you also divided the bottom by 10, right, Josie? You put that in there?
And then what I did, because it said 15%, and you can't really get 15 right there. Well, you can, but then I times it by 3.
What'd you times by 3?
10
10?
and
Okay.
12,
And you went to 30%?
30%.
All right, that works.
And then on the bottom, 6. And then I divided it by 2, so 30 would get 15. And then the answer would be 18%.
Okay, good. So that's a different way, and it works great. So watch another method. That's a great way, because she got to a number 30 because she knew she could divide 30 in half. So that strategy is going to work pretty well for Olivia in a lot of different situations. Did anybody go to 5, which is different, not better or worse, just different? Okay. So you could go to 5% by dividing by 2, which means you would have to take 12 and do the same. So what would I get here?
6. And 6 plus 12 equals 18.
Yes, and then you could add 5% and 10%,
Or you could times it.
or you could times by 3. So you could get 15% lots of different ways. So if I stick with the adding the columns, 10% and 5% together make 18, because 6 plus 12 is 18. Or you could do like what Josie said, triple. No.
Do I get points back for that?
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
get it all corrected. So you want to try one, Noah?
Okay.
So this one, 15%.
Okay.
You want me to write, or you want to write? So there's more than one correct way, but I want you to use the ratio table.
And this would be 110 right there, because 110 right here. And you could start off by dividing by 5. So if you divide both by 5.
Can you do 110 divided by 5 in your head?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Which is 20. And then 110 divided by 5 is 22.
Yeah. So because he's good at his math facts, it's a one-step problem.
So this the total would be 22.
Right. So that works for Noah. So 20% of 110 is 22. So I'm guessing for a lot of you, it might have been easier to go down to 10 and get 11.
Wait, can we do number 3?
Yeah, we can. But do you see that? Divide by 10 here. That might be easier for some of you. And then just double. Raise your hand if one of those two methods makes sense. The first one?
Yeah.
Just dividing by 5? As long as you can divide quickly. Right? You want to do as much mental math on these as possible.
Could do 3.
What would you do for 3? Yeah. You want to come up? You want me to write? So the goal and the assignment was to use this method in a ratio table.
So I got 100.
So we're going to see
5,
how to do this here.
and then I divided by 10.
By 10.
I got 10, and then
Can you do 75 divided by 10 in your head? I bet you can.
yeah,
What is it?
it's 10.5. No. 10 times 7 is 7.
Are you doing 3?
What? Yeah.
Look. What? Think about this. 70 divided by 10 is 7.
Yep.
80 divided by 10 is 8. So halfway between 75 divided by 10 is 7.5. Which is moving the decimal, but there's a reason for it.
1.5. And then I tripled it.
So he used Olivia's method.
Yeah. 22.5.
You divided by 10.
Yeah.
Triple 7.
Yeah. 21.
Triple 0.5.
Yeah. 22.
Right. So you don't need to write it out. You know it in your head. That's it.
I did
For 30, yeah.
divided by a half. I got 15. And then I got 11. And then half of 5.
Or 50 cents.
Yeah. Or half of 50 cents is. So the final answer would be 11 point.
Cody.
Hold on. How did you get sorry,
Let him answer questions.
5 in seconds?
It's actually a decimal.
Oh, so 7.5. Okay,
It's hard to see the decimal.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I'm just gonna.
Okay. So, sorry.
Yeah. Should I do number 5? Can I finish copying down 3 real quick?
Let me see. Jordan, come on up. Yeah.
Can I see number 3 real quick?
What I'm trying to do is get people to show enough that it's not, show a variety here. So let's see, 20% of 85. What do you need?
I need to see number 3.
Oh, we can scroll back up later.
Okay.
So label the
So-
columns.
So I divided this by 10,
Right.
and I got, for this I got 10, then here I got 8.5.
So dividing by 10 in your head is a really good skill, right? Just to be able to write 8.5 down.
And then times 2, because you have to get the percent to 20, so I multiplied by 2, and then I got 20 here, and then multiply that by 2, you would get 17. That's it.
Right. So Cody, do 6. But I'm wondering if you, well, go ahead and start it. Percent in total. Can you label the left of the table, percent, and thanks. Because sometimes we use ratio tables for other things.
And for the denominator, it would be 90. And to divide 100 by 90 would be 0.9.
So he's using a different method.
Multiply that times the percentage, which is 25.
But Cody, what I'm wondering if you can do is if you can use the property of ratio tables, because right now that's more of an algebraic approach, which is not incorrect, but it's not really what we're focusing on right now. So can you do this using a ratio table? Starting with, and I bet you could, making this 100%, starting with your 100 here. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you think you could give that a whirl?
Yeah.
So just as an alternate method. For one reason, it might be confusing for people that are just catching on to the ratio tables to try something totally different right now. And then you have a second method where you're able to check your work and you're able to demonstrate that you understand how a ratio table could work. So what could you do with that? You could, let me shrink this up here. So can you try that ratio table idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you do next? You had to get to 25%. Can you get to 10% or 50%? What would be easiest for you? Okay. You guys get that?
Yeah.
Can you go to 20% now? Like just looking at the numbers, what would 20% be? You could do either. You could go to 5 if you want to do that first.
I don't really know how to do this with a ratio.
So divide by 2. We'll talk you through it. What's half of 10? And half of 9? You're good at the mental math, right? Now you could go to 20% here. Or you could times by 5. So let's look at that. What did I do to get to there? So by times by 2, what's 20%? Okay. Can you add 5% and 20%? Remember in the beginning of the year we talked about ratio tables, you could add columns? You could add this column because 10%, and 20%, I'm sorry, added the wrong one, 5% and 20% make 25. Right. $22.5. Is that what you got with the other method? Raise your hand if you understand that.
That was really confusing.